I just want to remind everyone on this special edition of Public Exposure where we have Mayor Gary Haakensen, who's the mayor of the city of Edmonds. Small cities particularly have difficult problems in our difficult economic times. There's a big issue in Edmonds, and they're talking about their future, especially as it relates to essentially the center of town, very close to the waterfront. If you want more information, go to two sources. One is the City of Edmonds website, ci.edmonds.wa.us, or to myedmondsnews.com.
A couple of things. First off, I do not like the spin that's being used on our staff. And that's what this is spin. People are saying, we buy this property, we're going to furlough the staff, we're going to take away their salaries, any number of things just because we're buying a piece, possibly looking at buying a piece of property. I don't appreciate people using the staff in that manner. And I think it's very inappropriate for those that use it in order to push their own agenda, number one. Number two, what if we don't use general funds to buy this property? I'm going to ask that question out there of folks. Everybody's focused on it coming out of our general funds account. What if we don't? What if we pay for it in other ways? I've proposed out there selling one of our fire stations that we don't use, that we have the fire department use. It's a piece of property. What if we switch those properties? What if we sell that and pay off the waterfront property? We're not getting any value currently out of these fire stations. Fire District 1 is using them. So, I mean, there are ways to think out of the box. What if it pays for itself? I mean, I want people to really think about this, and I appreciate Mr. Wilson's comments in the fact that people need to really start thinking for themselves and out of the box and not running rampant with all the rumors that are hitting. What if it does pay for itself? Would everybody be standing up talking about, no, we can't do it? I don't think so. I think we need to start looking at stuff. Another comment that I keep hearing is that, what are your goals for the property? For God's sakes, it's up to the citizens of the city to have goals for what they want this piece of property to be. You absolutely would be kicking us up and down Main Street if the 7 of us at this table made a decision totally on your behalf to determine what this piece of property would be. I think it's more than just...
So, Mayor, in what I was hearing, one of the most important things was that she said that they're going to be listening to the public, and if the public really is at an 81 to 19 split or 81 to 17 split with two undecided, saying don't buy this, then she voted in the different direction.
Well, that's true, and frankly, I'm impressed that the City Council is on YouTube now, but in addition to that, I think it is an overwhelming sentiment from the public, and I hope that she is listening.
Okay. So City Council heard a lot of testimony from individuals. They probably have done their own investigation. They have said, you, Mayor, execute a purchase and sale agreement. And then it comes out in the My Edmonds News this. It's time to conduct the due diligence focus of the skipper's counteroffer. This was April the 30th, just a few days ago. The bank's counteroffer didn't involve a change in the purchase price. However, instead it addressed the amount of time the city can take to conduct its due diligence activities on the property before deciding whether or not to buy it. As a private person, again, I don't live in the city of Edmonds, and I'm not a taxpayer there, except when I come through and visit some of the fine restaurants that you have. But as a taxpayer, if a governmental entity is going to make an offer on property, it better know what it wants to do with it before it makes the offer.
That's correct. Well, what the council negotiated or asked me to negotiate was a 90-day window for them to, I assume, do the appraisal, do a feasibility study, environmental concerns exist on that property, and the bank countered back with, rather than 90 days, 60 days. And the council accepted that, and they countered back last Friday, which is what you're quoting from, that they would, if a level 1 assessment on the property shows a need for a level 2 environmental assessment, they would like 60 more days to sort of digest that. And I got a phone call today saying that the bank was countering back yet again. I haven't seen that yet. I expect I'll have it in the morning, and we'll be taking it to council tomorrow night.
But the bank itself, I mean, the bank got this at a foreclosure sale.
The bank took it back from the property owner and then now have taken possession of it in the foreclosure, in the trustee sale, actually. And like most banks, they're struggling. They want to get rid of some of the property that they have, and they're intent on moving it quickly, and I can understand that.
Well, but hasn't this property been for sale for off and on for the past several years?
It's been for sale and purchased off and on several times for the last few years.
So, in all seriousness, this is not like really prime developable property, is it?
Not in my estimation.
Are we ready for the next council members' discussion? Okay, we're ready to go to Council Member Strom Peterson. Let's go.
Point some things out, and this was mentioned a number of times this evening. And I think last week I said, in good economic times, maybe this would be a good purchase. Maybe we could come up with something. And then I started thinking about this idea that, well, to Ms. Fragler-Manilis's point, a number of people tonight have talked about it being a park. A number of people on this council have talked about it being a park. So I went to Google Earth, which is fantastic, and looked at this photo and said, who would want to park with 8 lanes of traffic on one side? Quick, Timmy, go get the ball. Wait, don't get the ball. We've got 6 lanes of traffic going down another side, and right now 1 railroad track, which at some point is going to be 2 railroad tracks on the other side. Luckily, on the 4th side of the park, we have a big parking lot. So I started thinking that, I think in the best of times, this would be a horrible purchase for the city as a park. Because
So we've just heard Councilmember Peterson talk about the Skipper's area property, and he talked about the area around it. Let's go to the next graphic, because in that graphic we've got a closer up view. There we see again in the red circle is the Skipper's property. We see train tracks. Now that's like Amtrak, right?
Amtrak, Burlington Northern, Sounder.
Oh, so there's like a lot of train traffic in there.
There is a lot of train traffic.
And there are pedestrian dangers.
Absolutely.
In
there's
fact,
also a ferry dock right there.
And then there's the ferry dock. And then if this were going to be developed as a park, there's a park right across the street closer to the water, right?
That's correct. Now, while the council hasn't yet said what the purpose was, there seems to be a lot of talk about a park, and I think as Councilmember Peterson said, if you're going to be visiting a park in Edmonds, why would you sit amidst 8 lanes of traffic, railroad tracks, and Main Street when you could go 20 feet across the street and be on the beach?
I guess, again, speaking as a taxpayer from outside the area, and I can't speak for the people of Edmonds, but I do have this question. Why is this property so hot if it hasn't been developed into something profitable over the past several years?
Sure. Well, that's a question I'm unable to answer. It's the majority of the council are interested in purchasing this. Obviously, I'm not in favor of it. A bigger concern for me is we have to go to the voters later on this year and ask them to increase their taxes to pay for services. I'm not sure they're going to be in the mood to increase their taxes if the council is out buying property without a purpose or...
Now, currently, this property is on the tax rolls.
It is.
If the city buys it, it won't be on the tax rolls anymore,
That's
right?
correct.
What isn't a big part of your budget, doesn't it, or some part of your budget come from the real estate excise tax?
It does. The real estate excise tax, though, is not part of our operating funds. That allows us to buy parks or whatever the council may designate it for. But certainly taking it off the property tax rolls removes some of our dollars that we would get in revenue, as well as whoever might build something there, the sales tax that they might collect.
As the economy more than drifted down, but tanked downward over the past couple of years, what has been the impact on your tax collections?
Well, it's been awful. Our property tax revenues are predominantly reliant on car sales, and I don't think I have to tell you what's happened to auto sales. And property taxes, obviously, we're collecting less than we would have before. So that's part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're in. We're not a city that has a lot of sales tax revenue. We don't have a major mall that would contribute to it. So we operate on a pretty tight shoestring. And so when an economy hits like this, it puts us down pretty quickly.